Hello. Hey to the replay people. Hello. I hope that you are having a wonderful day when you are watching this. If you see me looking in a couple different directions, I am live on YouTube as well as on IG. It's been a little while on IG, so I'm happy to make it work. I was trying to get my little thing to connect to my tripod, but I don't know if I maybe am missing a piece or something. But anyway, it's you guys are propped up on my computer, on my phone. So hello YouTube, hello everyone. For those that catch the replay, for those that are going to be on live, today we're going to be talking all about how to stay motivated within your business, especially when you deal with trying seasons, busy seasons, or just really seasons of uncertainty and just not really knowing exactly what it is that you want to focus on. So I'm excited to talk about that. But before I get into that topic, I wanted to quickly just introduce myself. My name is Tatiana Muse. I am a business coach and mentor for women that want to start their own businesses. I am so passionate about helping people to get out of their own way, really get out of the overwhelm of what it means to really get started with whatever type of business it is that you're trying to create, and to help you get those action steps so that you can finally make it happen. Because I know so many women that I work with and that I meet with, they sit on these ideas for sometimes years, several months, and it's just such a fire that lights up in me when I'm able to help somebody overcome that pause that they've had for all of that time and to finally make it happen. So welcome, so excited that you're here. We're going to be talking today all about how to stay motivated in busy and trying seasons, how to, even more so, how to set goals and to actually execute them and make them happen within these seasons. And so for those that are hopping on, hello, definitely let me know where you're watching from. I'm shifting y'all around over on IG real quick. Okay. Got to get my notes up. But yeah, let me know where you're watching from. How's your week going so far? All of that fun stuff. And let's get into this topic. So I kind of have this split up into two parts because I want to talk about, first off, what it means to stay motivated, at least for me, some of the things that I've learned over the last basically almost 7 years of really being in entrepreneurship, in the thick of it, and how I'm able to stay motivated. I feel like there's always something that comes up in life. There's always going to be that thing where you're questioning it all, or, life happens, or sadness happens, or, maybe you're just in a busy season and there's a ton going on. And so I have experienced this over and over again, year after year at some point. And so I really wanted to pull from that experience to just share some motivation with you all when it comes to staying motivated. And hey, Takia, this live was inspired by the question that you asked. So I appreciate you submitting that on the community tab for the channel. All right, we got some people from Durham. Hey, I'm actually not too far from you. I'm kind of near Charlotte. So hello, what's up? Let's see, Charlotte, hello. Okay, cool. We got somebody watching from Texas. Wonderful. All very, very happy all of you are here and tuning in. So the main thing that I will say, first of all, is that it's okay to allow yourself to live in whatever the season may be, whatever emotion is being tied to the season you're in. So whether it's a busy season and you're feeling super overwhelmed and you just need time to rest, you just need time to recoup, that's fine. I was talking to my accountability partner about this last night, about how sometimes we will discount the things that we've done, even though it might just be something that we decided that we wanted to do. No one else knows that we were going to do this thing, but we're so hard on ourselves to the point where we're like, okay, because I didn't do this thing today, then I might as well just throw in the towel. I might as well just give it up. And I don't know if anyone else is like that. It's almost like, if you set up and you're going to do this amazing morning routine, and then let's say you woke up late or you didn't have an opportunity to do one of the things. Well, now you feel like you failed because you didn't get to do every single thing in the routine. But really, it's like, no, let's say maybe you didn't get to do all 4 steps, but you did have time to sit down and have time with God, or you did have time to sit down and journal, or whatever it might be. You did have time to make that cup of tea or that coffee. So you have to remember that everything doesn't have to be perfect. This is just a life lesson in general, but especially with business, you don't have to be hard on yourself. That's kind of the beauty of being an entrepreneur and running your own thing. You don't have somebody down your back being like, oh, well, we talked about these things on this list. We talked about all of the, what did they call it? Y'all, this is why what did they call it when you have like the thing where they check in with you after every year. It's like your progress report, but tell me the word. I cannot think of what I'm trying to say, but it's like when your employer meets with you and they're basically going over your work, how you did it. I cannot think of the words on the tip of my tongue, but you don't have to worry about that. So you don't have to feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't make these goals happen. I didn't reach this milestone. I didn't do this. The whole part of it is just that it's for you. And no one else is going to know what you don't do or what you didn't do, what you said you were going to post on Wednesday, what you said you were going to launch. Life happens. So just remove that feeling of guilt, that feeling of failure, remove all of that because things happen. Yes, review. I don't know why I could not think of that. Your evaluation, y'all, thank you. Yes, thank you. That's what it was, the annual evaluation. That is the thing where, you sit down and they're marking you off. They have the ratings for you and stuff like there's none of that happening with this business. So just remove that pressure that you put on yourself because it's just an unnecessary thing to add. Now, don't get me wrong. There needs to be some things in place for you to track along the way, but you don't have to feel that pressure that comes along with that when life is happening, when you're in a season where you just can't do all the things. So I wanted to point that out. Another thing I wanted to say is that it's okay to take a pause. It's okay if you have to step away from something, but just always have a plan of coming back. So I wanted to just mention those things because regardless of if you're in a season, sometimes it's just not realistic to be like, okay, well, I'm still going to work on my business today. You may not be feeling it. There's times when I take a break from my YouTube channel. I take a break from my email list. I maybe don't promote anything. I just don't have anything to say. Like all of those things happen. And so it's okay. So anyway, I wanted to get into, first of all, the 5 ways that I love to stay motivated to share with you. And then I also want to give you a bonus tip, which would be kind of tip number 6, that will really be more specific to how you can set some business goals and really make some things happen. So if anyone has any questions at any point during this live, even if it doesn't have to do with this specific topic, feel free to ask. I always do a Q&A at the end of these, and I'll be more than happy to answer for you. So the first thing is to connect with your beliefs and your support system. So I know some people don't believe in God. I'm a huge believer of God over here. If you follow this channel, you already know. And so really connecting back to your faith, really getting back to your roots, relying on your support system, whatever that might look like for you. I know for me and my husband, when we are, like right now, I'm actually in North Carolina with my family, so I'm really, really in a season of just gratefulness. But typically, I live in New Mexico. We don't have any family there, but we do know people. We do have friends. And it's taken me a while to lean on those people, not because of anything that they've done, but it's all with me internally. You know how sometimes you feel that pressure of like, I can do it all. I don't need nobody to help me. Like I had been in that season for a really long time. And just within this last year, I've realized how stressed that has made me, how overwhelmed it is. And it's just unfair to those in my household because I'm trying to, juggle all of these things when in reality, I cannot do it all. And so being able to figure out how you can really tap into, first of all, your faith, getting close with God, praying about your situation, whatever is going on. Personally, in my life, I am dealing with a lot of things that have really been stressing me out a lot. I've talked about this a bit. And so in that, sometimes it can be really hard to just be 100% focused. And so I've just been praying to God, like, okay, just give me the strength to do what I need to do to show up for the people that I need to show up for, because, I'm still here to be obedient and do what it is that you want me to do. Even in this season of uncertainty, this season of me just trying to figure my life out and figure out what's next and different things like that, I always want to make sure that I keep my purpose at the forefront, even if it looks different in different seasons. And then with the support system, leaning on the people that you know and you trust that are really going to be able to help you get through the time, and I really am speaking to my moms on this specifically because I know sometimes we feel like, oh, if I turn this over to a friend or, if I decide to take a moment away or something like that, we instantly feel like we're a horrible mother, or you have this mom guilt, you have this feeling of like you're failing. I have been there over and over again, and the reality is that you are not a bad mom. In fact, I think if you are constantly thinking about these things and looking for ways to take some things off of your plate. It actually makes you an even better mom than you probably realize, because you realize that you're taking on too much and you really want to be able to be the best mom you can be. So really connecting with your beliefs and your support system is super important. It's going to look different for everyone, but I just feel like first and foremost, always start right where you are. We can always talk to God, and we can always reach out to those that are right in front of us for help. And then another thing for number 2 is don't stay stuck in the research phase. So again, I am speaking about business, but again, this can really apply to just life in general too. But don't stay stuck in the research phase. I know so many people that I meet with that will say, oh, I've been researching this thing and I've been looking into it for the last 6 months. Or one of my favorite ones is, oh yeah, I've been following your channel for the last year and I love watching. And I'm like, oh, okay. And now we're on this call and you haven't gotten started yet. So people tend to get stuck in that research phase and it will paralyze them. A lot of times it's just because of overwhelm. It might be confusion. It might be just a sense of doubt. It could be comparison depending on where you're getting your research from or where you're getting your inspiration from. And so this is just me reminding you in this second step is just to make sure you're not in the research phase for too long. I think there is nothing wrong with figuring out how to do something, seeing how others do things, but at the end of the day, you have to eventually take some action and you have to be willing to step out and make mistakes. That is what entrepreneurship is all about. Nothing is going to be perfect, but once you get that experience, once you get that first failure or something that didn't necessarily go the way that you thought it would, now for next time, okay, I'm not going to go down that road again. Now I know, because unless you're really working with somebody specifically on a more intimate basis, everything that we watch online, all of the free content out there online, it's very surface level to a point, because no one can speak to everybody's individual situation. I know for me, I never promise anything on my YouTube channel about, oh yeah, everything I talk about on this channel is going to give you the exact blueprint. It's going to help you with the exact hurdles you're going to have. It's going to help you with every single step along the way of your exact thing you're trying to create. There's no way I can do that, because everyone's situation is so different. So just keep that in mind, that everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people are out here really trying to impact others and inspire and help. But if you're feeling confused or you're feeling like, okay, I like what they're saying, but it's not 100% resonating with me, take the little bit that you can take from what they're saying and apply it as much as you can, and then just see what happens. Throw the spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks, see what's working for you. And I promise you that your journey will be so much sweeter because you took those chances on yourself. You bet on yourself. You realize that, okay, this person is inspiration. Maybe you're not necessarily wanting to work with them in a coaching basis, or if they even offer that, but you're going to go ahead and apply what you've seen, what you know, and you're going to just step out there and make it happen. That was my story completely when I started. Really all of my businesses was just stepping out, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to just try this thing and see what happens. Let's see. Takia saying, oh, and hey, Derica. Okay, completely understand and can absolutely relate in your own bubble. I've experienced being on the same page with someone at a time, but then they have their own things going on and they are just not aligned with your season or reason. A word, okay? A word. And that was definitely why I was saying people that you know and trust, because I think we all have those people in our lives where, as much as we would love to tell them everything we have going on, we would love to lean on them in specific seasons, they just don't show up for us the way that we want to, and that's going to be different for everyone. But I completely understand that. And it says, so I'm learning to take a step back from them, but step forward for myself. Okay, Takia, I love that. I love that. You need to make that like a quote graphic or something. And then Derica said, if anyone on Instagram has anything to definitely comment, chime in. I love when this is a conversation. And then Derica said, I took action finally today because I was stuck in the research stage of a specific goal. It drove me crazy, and I'm feeling good with my step forward today, as scary as it is. See? And I think it's just once you take that first step, it's just the beginning. I know that sometimes it can be so easy for me to sit here and say, oh yeah, y'all just do it. Like, get out your own way. It's easy to say that, but I promise you, when you actually take the action and you actually do it and you see it with your own eyes and your own life, you'll realize like, wow, this was not as bad as I was making it. Because I think a lot of times we get in our head so much and we think something's going to be so much more difficult, and it really ends up not being as bad as we thought. So actually that brings me to step number 3, and it's not even really steps, but just point number 3 is to stop counting yourself out and just begin, right? And so this is just taking it a step further of, you will feel overwhelmed, especially with our 2022 world right now. Everybody is talking about everything. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody is telling you this is the right way. This is the right way. No, this is wrong. Do this for the algorithm. Nope, well, the algorithm changed. Like, there's so many reasons to not do something because of all of the information out there and because things are constantly changing. But the point is that once you do take that first step, like we were just saying, once you do decide, okay, I've done enough research, I've filled up enough notebooks, and I've taken enough hours watching people's video or listening to people's podcasts, once you finally have that click and you're like, okay, I think I'm ready to actually make this thing happen, then you will realize that you will kind of create your own roadmap as you go. So it's just, again, I'm just reminding you, just don't automatically count yourself out. I can't even tell you how many people I've met with, not even if it's for stationery, but just for different business related things where people will be like a good example, somebody might be like, oh, I really want to create printable products, or, I want to do digital things or something like that. And it's just like, but I wouldn't even know how to do that. That's probably too hard. The technology is too difficult. And then I'll be like, well, you just do whatever, depending on what they're asking about. And they're like, oh, that's it? And I'm like, yeah, So I think sometimes things, we just automatically count ourselves out like, oh, I'm not good with technology. Oh, I tried something like that before, it didn't work. Oh, so many people are already doing it. And then we don't even give ourselves a chance to see, or you automatically think it's just a super confusing thing. And then you realize like, oh, I actually could do this. And I just wasted the last 6 months telling myself I couldn't do it. So point number 4 is to change your routine, your environment, and the things you consume. I think change is really important. I don't know if there's any OGs that are watching from my YouTube channel, but y'all know my song, Change is Crazy. If you remember that used to be my intro songs to my older videos. But seriously, change is so important. If you're finding yourself just in this same routine, you're just stuck in kind of like this same cycle, doing the same things over and over again, and you're realizing like, okay, I really want to make this thing happen, but I find myself laying down at the bed at the end of the night and I'm exhausted. Or, I find myself realizing that once again, I've let another month go by and haven't taken action on XYZ. So really assess your life, assess your environment, assess the things that you watch, the things that you listen to. And I'm talking to those people that sometimes maybe you watch a little bit too many YouTube videos. Talking to myself. Or maybe you are watching too many episodes of whatever the latest show you're binging. Whatever the case may be, if you are consuming things that are not really like filling you up, fueling you, keeping you motivated, then I really think that could be a great place to start. Because sometimes I know it might not be the easiest to change up your routine. It might not be the easiest to change up your environment, but you can change what you consume and what you spend your time doing, what you get distracted by. That is something that we all can do. And that's a great place to start because you'll sometimes be affected. Your mindset will be changing just based off of something you see on social media. Like for me, I've gotten a little bit bad with the habit. Y'all know I always keep it real. But for a while, I was getting really good with where I would not get on Instagram until after noon, usually like about 11 or 12 o'clock. And when I was doing that, when I tell you my day always started off so much more positive, I was so much more present with my daughter. I was able to get clear in my mind of what I needed to focus on for the day versus me starting the day with what everybody else was doing and what everybody else thought. So just things like that is what I mean when I say change the environment. And then as far as like your routine and things like that, I'm more so just saying like if you're feeling like you're doing the same things over and over again and you're not finding the time to do what you need to do, well, maybe instead of when you get home and you have to right away, you get started helping with homework, or you get home and right away you fall into this next thing, maybe set it up where it's like, okay, I'm going to make sure that on Thursdays, right when I get home from work, I'm going to make sure that I have an hour dedicated to my business. So instead of me watching Bridgerton on Netflix, or instead of me trying to figure out what I'm going to cook for dinner, I'm going to block that hour off and then I'm going to move that thing to something else. And that's really what it is. It's all about really being intentional about when you can do something and actually putting it on the calendar, actually setting a time to it. I don't know if Shalina is still on. Hey, Shalina. But that's what it's really all about. It's about getting clear on what it is you're trying to do and actually setting some time aside. So I don't know if anyone else is like me, but I know that I don't need to be scrolling online. I know that there's a lot of things I'll be doing. I have a to-do list that'll be a mile long, just things that have my mind just constantly working. And I will be sitting there looking at TikTok. And then it's like after the 20th TikTok, no lie. I mean, because they're only just, a few seconds sometimes. But after I'm sitting there, I'm like, what am I doing right now? Like, I could have already had the caption for my video edited or written out. I could have already had my thumbnail made. I could have had an idea for my Instagram post, or, I could have sent this email to my client. Like, just stuff like that where we a lot of times are distracted and we don't realize how much time we actually have. So I just don't think that time is an excuse, because we all have time. It's just a matter of figuring out how we can fit it in. And then the last one, which I'm just going to breeze over really quickly because I talk about this all the time, but that one is to know your why. So again, when you're going through things, it can be very difficult sometimes to stay motivated with the business. But just remember your why. What is the purpose of why you've started doing this thing to begin with? You can have multiple whys. I always talk to clients about having a 2-part why. You have the why for why you do it for you in your own life, and then you have why you do it for the people that you work with or the people that you're creating things for. So just having that in the forefront and remembering that, it'll bring you back every single time. I can honestly say the women that I work with, the people that occasionally might send me a message or just a kind comment on my video, just letting me know like, oh my gosh, this really helped me. This really brought me out of feeling overwhelmed or feeling like I couldn't do it, or things like that. Even if I'm taking a break and maybe it's been a couple of weeks, I can read that and I can be like, you know what? I got to get back to what I'm doing. Because even if I'm only impacting one person with my message and what I have to say and my story that I have to share, that is more than enough of a reason for me to continue to show up, So I always give myself that grace, but I always come back because of my why every single time. And that's why I just stress to people, do things that you're passionate about. Don't do things just because it's trendy or just because, it seems like it's a lot of money in that, or whatever the case is. Because when life happens and you're burnt out and things are negative and you just are questioning it all, you're not going to be so excited to be picking up this thing and keeping it going when you literally have no passion around it whatsoever. Okay, let's see. I'm laughing at Takia's faces and stuff. Okay, I found you this year. This is C. Wesley. I found you this year. I've used your video this month and finally had real clarity. I was stuck. Oh, I'm really happy to hear that. See, that's what I'm talking about. It's like I make these videos to just help people get clear, help people get confident, and help people feel seen. And so just those things help me. They validate what I'm doing, and it's like, okay, I'm going to continue to show up. So I'm so happy to hear that, and I will definitely keep more things coming to help along the way. So that was the first part of this. Now, really, I just wanted to briefly touch on, okay, let's say you're like, okay, this is wonderful. These are some great ways for me to stay motivated, some things to consider and think about. But now I wanted to give a bonus last tip. And so that is to be intentional about what you're doing and when you're doing it. So first of all, ask yourself, what is the goal? What are you trying to do? So I'm going to just put it out on the line there. I've already shared with you all that at some point I'm going to be releasing a podcast. So that is going to be coming. It's just funny because I never wanted to do a podcast. I've been listening to podcasts for quite a few years now, and I've never had a desire to do a podcast, just like I never had a desire to be an entrepreneur. And then it was about 3 or 4 months ago, I started getting this constant thought of like, ooh, you should do a podcast. You should do a podcast. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, I have no, like, I got a YouTube channel. I got all these other things going on. Like, I don't got no time for that. And so I'm like, okay, I don't know. Like, is God trying to tell me something? So I've just been I always take my time and I'm really like, okay, is this really what you're telling me, God? Is this really what you want me to do? And so this is a big goal for me that is going to be something I'm rolling out. But like I've shared, I have a lot going on. I'm constantly in and out of a busy season. And so I have realized like, okay, I'm not able to launch my podcast right in this moment. Like I would love to do it right today, but instead I'm going to have it coming a little bit later. So I'll share more of those details, but I'm going to use that example to walk you through these questions to kind of help you. So you insert your big goal, your thing that you're trying to do. So what is the goal? And then when do you need it to be accomplished? I am a huge believer in setting a date to what it is that you're trying to do. Even if it doesn't end up being the final date, give a month and a year, give something, give the week of, whatever the case is, put a date to it. If you're trying to launch a business, you have a new product, put a date to when you want to have it done. Be realistic with your date as far as, what you have going on. Consider, like if it's going to be the holidays or if there's going to be I know back to school is busy for a lot of people. So things like that, consider all of that when you're thinking about the date. So then once again, you're not being hard on yourself when something doesn't happen right when you think. And then put that date there. Now, of course, you want to work backwards from that date. But going back to what I said before, look at your distractions. Look at the time that you're spending doing things that are not serving you well. I'm not trying to say don't have fun, don't enjoy things, because we all indulge and we consume content in whatever capacity that may be. We do it all in different ways. It could be the news, it could be YouTube, it could be podcasts, whatever it might be. It might be maybe you read too many books. I've seen so many people have been I know people have always been reading, but is it just me or does it seem like so many people are talking about reading so much more, which I think is amazing. But even in that, if you're reading all them steamy novels and stuff, maybe be okay, instead of reading for 2 hours tonight, I'm gonna just read for an hour, or, something like that. So really figuring out when do you have the free time and being honest with yourself about that. What are the things that you don't necessarily need to be doing? It's not required of you. And then the last thing is really spelling it out and creating those milestones by working backwards. So a great example of this, I don't know exactly the date for my podcast just yet, but to give you all an example, let's just say if you were doing something along those lines, let's just say you were deciding you wanted to launch it in October of this year, for example. So if that's the case, the first step of anything I always feel is the consumption phase. That's the research phase. That's when you're really okay, let me figure out how to do this thing. So if you're not familiar with creating a podcast or you're not familiar with starting a YouTube channel, again, insert your thing in there. Okay, you give yourself some time to research it. Give yourself a time frame. So if you're okay, I'm going to give myself 2 weeks to just research, consume, and kind of just pull all of the different things that will help me along the way of what I need to know. Maybe you'll get a little bit of inspiration from someone that might already be doing it. Maybe you'll talk to a mentor. Whatever the case is, give yourself that time frame to make that happen. But then don't stay in it. Then the next part is the creation phase. So that's really when you're going to make it happen. That's when you're going to take some action on it. You're going to start designing some things. You're going to start recording some episodes or even just jotting some ideas down. You're really going to start thinking about the things that you research and start implementing them into how it's going to work for you. So creating things. Then you're going to get into building invisibility. I feel no matter what you're doing, if it's a business, you need to become visible and you need to be building some type of trust with people. You need to be building an email list, creating your audience and really getting seen so that when it is time for you to roll something out, there's actually somebody around that's going to care about it, right? So that's going to look different for everybody, but starting to create content, coming up with ways that people will be interested and want to join your email list. What's a cool opt-in or something you can do based off of your knowledge, based off of the business that you're getting ready to launch, or for the podcast, for example, for me, one of the things I could do for that could definitely be some type of email challenge, or it could be a opt-in of some sort, like a PDF download or whatever the case may be. And then I know all those people that are getting on that specific email list for that specific thing. Well, now I know all these people are my target audience for whatever I'm doing. So really thinking about that, and I didn't include this in my notes, but just within that same thing is providing value to people. So when you're building trust, people want to feel like you're helping them with something, you're giving them something. So it's not all about you just promote. You got to give them a reason to be oh, you know what, they're the go-to person for this. They know what they're talking about. They have quality products. They have quality content. I think I do want to work with them. I think I do want to check out their product. That's really what's going to tie all of that in. And then the next part of it is the pre-launch planning. So everybody's launch is going to be a little bit different, but I always think it's important to plan what you're going to do prior to launching. So just getting all of those things in effect versus you just waking up one day like, okay, I think I'm going to take this week to just roll out my product and kind of launch a little bit. So today I think I'm just going to post something and say, oh, this is coming out in 3 days. So really taking some time to actually set up the launch and plan it out, and figure out again what that launch date is, what we talked about, that end goal date, and figuring out about how long you can really get your audience excited, get yourself visible, get people to care about it. I always say a good time frame, especially if you're brand new to a audience or a business, a great amount of time to launch is really about a month to 90 days if possible, because you really want to give people time to know who you are and to understand what it is that you're trying to do. And then the last part is to execute and to launch. So that's really where you're going to take the action now, and you're going to really just carry out everything you've been working on over the period of time. So for me, that would mean, me setting up my RSS feed, me launching my podcast, me having my first few episodes, me figuring out, which I have no idea right now, but them little apps where you be seeing the little audio waves, like all those things. I'm going to start executing and you're going to start seeing it. So that is really what it's all about. And if you look at it in these different areas and you know what part of it you're in, it helps too. It's just like when you're looking at a map and it's like, okay, well, where am I located? Where are you within this process? Are you consuming and researching right now? If so, then it's okay if you're not designing something in this current moment. Are you right now working on building visibility and really getting people to trust you? Then it's okay if you're not promoting anything today or you're not making a sale today, because right now you're focusing on just getting the audience, right? So it's good to know that. I know I kind of shared a lot of different points and things. It's a little bit all over the place, but it really comes together. So the first 5 things was really all about how to stay motivated when things are getting difficult, what you can rely on. So if you need to watch the replay, I highly suggest you do. How to stay motivated. The second part of that was what are the questions to ask and how to kind of set yourself up to get things on your calendar so you can complete it. And then the third thing I shared all about the creation, consumption, building, all of that stuff. That is really the pieces of the goal, which is you launching something for your business. Those are the parts of the goal. And all of those things are extremely important. So now I'm going to go to questions, or comments, see what everyone has. I'm going to start over here on Instagram. Hey, Belford said, I know you specialize in homemade planners, but is there a crossover value that I can use if I want to find a supplier? If not, what's different? I think it really is going to depend from situation to situation. This is always hard to answer because it's not really like you save money one way or another, or it's not really like one way is better than the other. I think it really comes down to your preference of what it is that you want to do. A lot of times I'll just tell people straight up, making things by hand is very labor intensive. It does require a level of care that not everyone has. So just really be mindful of that. I think that it's really cool to be able to do things hands-on and give somebody and say, like, I made this myself. I really poured my heart into it, but it's not for everybody. And even for me, in my season of life right now, handmade is a lot for me. Even though I've preached and talked about it, I love it. And it's something that I will continue to share with others about, but it may or may not be the right thing for you. And as far as if a supplier may work, there's so many routes you can go with that as well, because you could work with someone here in the United States and have an experience one way. You could work with somebody overseas and have a totally different experience with them. You could do kind of a hybrid, which I did, where I worked with a company that kind of printed my pages for me, and then I did the rest of the stuff myself. So it's kind of hard to answer that question, but I think it really just comes down to what you are willing to do, because it can be a lot of work. And then also he said, do you have any advice on finding a printer that can print up your planners? I always suggest, if you're going to be getting anything printed, I don't know if you mean just the pages of the planner printed or the entire thing, but if you are talking about the pages, I would say try to find a local printer. You would be surprised, just the local mom and pop print shops can be very helpful with that kind of stuff, as well as if you're trying to get the entire thing created. It's going to depend, because it depends on the types of specs and things that you want. So definitely reach out to me if you're interested. I can definitely share some more information with you, see if possibly I can work with you to help you with that, because it's hard to say, because there's so many different options of manufacturers out there, but they all offer different types of finishes and things like that. Okay, yes. The replay will be available on YouTube. Okay, let me go back on YouTube comments for a second. Okay, so JM, hey, said, can you explain how does the live call for the master planner class work? Where and how are the invites? When exactly do you conduct them? I feel like I miss them all the time. I feel like I'm not understanding. Yes, of course. So they are quarterly calls. And so what they're referring to is I have a handmade planner masterclass. It's a class that walks you through from start to finish how to create your own planner by hand, hardcover, whether you want it to be like a wire O, more like spiral bound, or you want it to be disc bound. It's the whole shebang in there, but there is a quarterly live Q&A call that I do. So we just had one, I think it was just a couple weeks ago. We just had one in June, so the next one will not be until next quarter. I do not know the date off the top of my head, but what we do is we always will put it within the course. So if you're in Podia, if it's not there now, I'll definitely go check after this live to make sure, but usually the link for the Zoom as well as that will be in there. I do also send out a reminder email, typically if not the week before, definitely the day before, and then usually an hour or 30 minutes before the call. If you opt out of the emails though, you won't receive it, so just check to see if you're subscribed. But feel free to send me an email if you want. All the replays are also available in there too. And if you're not able to make it to the live call, you can also submit your questions. So I hope that helped. Tiffany says, that's where I am in my creation phase, my planner notebook, and at the same time trying to build up my social media. Yeah, and sometimes you can be in the phases, multiple phases at once. Let me take a sip, y'all. Okay. These tips just gave me some ease about my launch date. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. I think sometimes we can put so much pressure on ourselves, and we can definitely simplify the process, because I know launching can be overwhelming. I definitely understand it, but I promise you, you got this. You definitely got this. Let's see. Is it Vada MS _ said, can you go back over visibility? Yes. So basically what I was just saying in that part of it, when you're looking at overall, like, okay, I have this big goal. I'm trying to do X, Y, Z. I'm trying to launch this thing. I'm trying to release this product, or, whatever it may be. Part of the phases is getting visible. So visible, I put building trust and getting visible. So just basically meaning that, yes, it's important to, figure out how to run the business. It's important to create the product or the course or whatever it may be, but it's also just as important, if not more, to get visible to the audience that's going to be getting these things from you and building the trust with them. So that's just going to come in the form of content. That's going to come in the form of, going live like this, or posting videos, posting reels, TikToks, being active with your email list. I actually did a live, I think it was last week I did a live. Check that one out. I share a lot about how to market and promote your business outside of just social media. So if some reason you're not really even wanting to be on social media, I know a lot of people are like that. I gave you a ton of ways that you can get visible without having to be on social media, or that not being like your number one way. So that's basically what I'm saying. It's just getting visible, getting people to trust you by providing them value, showing up consistently. That's all what I mean about that building trust and visibility. Okay, let me see. Okay, Juan Budget Life, hey, said, how do I set myself up as a new coach planning business at my first speaking engagement, tips, suggestions, and selling my services? Oh, yes, I love it. So first of all, congratulations to you on your first speaking engagement. That is exciting. I know for me, I've been trying to get more into speaking, and so I already know that feeling of like when you get that set up, it's just like, okay, this was what I wanted, but now it's like, okay, now what? So I'm really excited for you. The biggest thing I would say, make sure I read the question right. How do I set myself up as a new coach planning business at my first speaking engagement? Suggestions for selling. Okay, so yeah, I would say, of course, a lot of the value is going to come from what you're talking about. Like, I think first and foremost, what you're presenting, whether it's through like some type of PowerPoint or Canva presentation or whatever it might be, and just through what you're talking about, I think that's a great way. I always think it's nice to provide some type of thing for the people that you're speaking. So whether you have something you can physically hand out, like some kind of workbook or something, or even if maybe they're not allowing that type of thing, you can have a link or a QR code on something that people can then take, and then they can get some type of free opt-in from you. That's a great way to start building your email list up. So let's just say, for example, I'm truly just making this up, but let's say I'm talking all about how to get visible for your business without social media, right? Maybe that's what I'm talking about as a speaking topic. And then maybe I go ahead and create some type of like 3-page PDF download or something, and it's basically just kind of walking them through the points from what I talked about, and then there's like a page for them to kind of execute it themselves and write it out for their own business. So then I could say, okay, use this QR code, you can go ahead and download that. Now they're on the email list, and now I know that, you know, these are my people. These are some people that I can continue to build the relationship, continue to build the trust, and eventually they will be interested in purchasing services, as well as, sorry, y'all, I start talking fast and be like getting lightheaded. As well as if you are able to sell your services at the event, I think it would be great to have some kind of special for the people, maybe in the form of like a discount, or maybe they get like something extra, or some things are bundled together that's just exclusive for while you're there. That's kind of like, you know, like a fast action type of thing where it's like, okay, you can get this deal, but maybe it's only available during the event, or maybe just for the next 48 hours or something like that. So that would be some of the things I would suggest to do for that. Okay, let's see. Belford said, have you seen trends that people only pay for planners during the summer months, or do people pay for planners year round? Oh, year round, 100%. I think there are definitely peak times when people get planners, because you have like the calendar year planners, so just like the 12 months, January to December, but then you also have like the more mid-year academic planners as well, which that can kind of range, but typically like June to July. So I think it just depends. If you have an undated planner though, I feel like you really set yourself up the best, because people can get that. I mean, literally they could get it in March or something if they wanted to and get started. But yeah, people are purchasing stuff all the time. And I know me, when I was like really heavy into being in the planner community, I would be purchasing planners when I didn't need to be. So I think it's definitely for sure year round. Okay, let's see. Hi, Tatiana. Said, can you talk about reaching out to printers? Sure. I mean, I think the main thing I would say for that is to have all of your specs ready to go. So depending on whatever it is you're trying to do, if it's a planner, a journal, or whatever the case is, just having all of your information ready. So how many pages it is, if it's in black and white, if it's in color, or if there's certain pages in color, how many pages are in color, how many sheets of paper, what type of paper are you looking for? Or if you're not familiar with the type of paper, asking them like, hey, I'm looking for like a really quality paper. I don't necessarily want people to write on it to be able to see on the other side. What papers do you suggest? And then just different things for the specs. So if they're going to be doing the entire project for you, you know, like what color binding do you want? Do you want gold foil? Things like that. So the more information you can provide to them up front, the more accurate the quote will be. And they'll be able to tell you like, okay, hey, we don't have this, but we do have this option, or whatever the case is. So I would always say just get all of your kind of basic, well, not even basic, get all your information together for how you want it to look, the specs of it, and then reach out to them with that information. Okay, let's see. Bloom Into Yourself said, any tips on loose planning and staying on track with that? I have 2 little kids, 3-year-old and 9-month-old. Oh my God. So sometimes time is limited and it takes a long time to get a small project done. Girl, I feel you. So I have been home with my daughter. I actually just posted a reel on Instagram about this. My daughter will be 4 next month. I have never been away from her overnight until just this past weekend. Okay, so that's almost 4 years. And so I 100% know how you feel. I've been home with her every day. So I know how that is to be trying to juggle all of the things. And I know you have 2, so that even adds another layer to that. The biggest thing I would say is I love that you put the word loose planning in there, because I think that's important. is to be open to the fact that sometimes things may not work. But again, it's about finding those pockets of time. So if you know, like, nap time is a great time. I know they say my husband still acts like he should be following this even though she's about to be 4. The sleep when baby sleeps. To a point, I think, okay, yes, I agree. But if you can, I would definitely say nap time is big. That is a lot of times when I get a lot of things done because it will just be me at home with her. So nap time is huge for me getting things done. If they don't necessarily nap together, I would say try to figure out a time where maybe like you can set up your 3-year-old to maybe be kind of playing for a little bit, or I don't know if you're into like screen time at all, even if it's for like 30 minutes to watch a show or something, and then maybe have like your 9-month-old, you know, doing something more like age appropriate for 9 months, and then just kind of do it that way. But even if you can only dedicate like 20 or 30 minutes out of the day, another thing that has been really successful for me is getting up earlier than my daughter. So if you can wake up early before everything gets started, before the chaos and the madness, that typically helps as well. Or staying up later is another way. I'm not a night owl, but that could be a way for you as well. So I think it's just, I mean, I hate to say it because sometimes it can be a lot trying to figure things out with kids, but I think it really makes you that much more resilient, you know, and it makes you that much more creative with how you can make it happen. But it's just about finding that time when ordinarily you might be just scrolling on your phone, or you might use it to sleep a little bit longer or something like that. And it doesn't mean you have to do it every day, but even if you're just like, okay, 3 days out of the week, I'm going to find 30 minutes out of each day, and then this is the task that I'm trying to get done. And so then hopefully the goal is by the end of the week, that thing will be done. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Let's see. Ruby in the Rough said, I sell a printable planner, but I would like to get it made into a physical planner. I'm not in a stage of life to make it myself, so I would need to have a company print and bind it. Any suggestions? Yeah, I think the biggest thing is honestly just Google, y'all, will really help so much. Like, I promise you, especially with this. I think the biggest thing though, if you're wanting to do it printable instead of, okay, yeah, hold on. You would like to get it made into a physical printer. Okay, I understand now. So yeah, I would say definitely still, I would research. You could YouTube it a little bit, just a couple videos on just how people are designing it. What's the software? I personally design all of my printable things within either, depending on what it is, Illustrator or InDesign. They're both Adobe programs. Canva is another really popular one. I've used that for a lot of my email opt-ins. So I would say any of those would be a place to start, kind of learn how to use those programs and just kind of map out what it is that you're trying to do, what you want the planner to look like. And then the beautiful part about it is really no matter what you use, all of those can then become printable at any point if you needed them to. So I would definitely say start with learning the programs and just kind of figuring out exactly what you want to call. I call it in my course, I call it dream it up, like dreaming up, you know, what you want on the pages, what you want people to be able to do, what are the prompts and different things like that. And then start creating those things within the program. Okay. Belford, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Anyone else? Let me see. Yes to all that you said. Thank you so much. Loved your reel too, by the way. Such truth in what you said. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy I can help. Okay, I got a couple more questions and I'm gonna get off. So let's see. Juan Budget's Life said you're terrified. Do not be terrified. You got this. You got this. I have a big engagement coming up in October. It'll be my first in-person speaking engagement, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm nervous, but we got this. We can do it. Let's see. Shakitha, hey, said, I'm not an affiliate of this company, but check out Speak Your Way to Cash. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Speak Your Way to Cash. I love that. And that, I'm assuming that's probably piggybacking off of the speaking engagement stuff. So thank you for sharing that. We'll definitely check it out for sure. I'm creating a walkthrough for workbook. Thank you for that helps. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, and then Takia said, a long time ago you did grab bags for your shop when you revamped. Is that something you are considering doing again when you open back up? There are a few items that I saw but did not purchase and would still like to buy. So that's a good question, Takia. I will not have grab bags. I actually am going to be sharing some stuff soon with you all, but I don't have any plans for any grab bags or anything as of yet. I definitely will see for sure. I'm kind of trying to figure some things out and finalize some stuff, but that's definitely something I'll consider as I'm trying to remove inventory and things like that. So that may be an option. So thank you for reminding me about that. Yeah, the grab bags were fun. And yeah, that's really for anyone. Like if you are maybe even looking for like a cash injection, or you're looking for just some ways to get some extra income for your product-based business. Maybe you have a ton of inventory. I know for me, I had so much that time I did it because I had stopped my subscription box, and I had all of these extras from boxes where it was just like little pieces of just random stuff. I had like a journaling card, I had random notebooks and stuff. And so I was like, you know what? This stuff was either not listed in the shop, or I wasn't getting ready to list it in the shop. So I just decided to create these grab bags, and they had different values. There was like $5 ones, $10 and $20 ones. So that's a great way if you're just trying to get rid of some stuff, if you're trying to start fresh, or whatever the case is, clean out inventory. You could do these bags, price them at different rates depending on what's in there, so you're not like, losing money or anything. But that's a great way to do some things for your business as well. All right, so I am going to get off of here now. I appreciate you all, as always, for being on here with me and chatting and asking questions. It means a lot. I will be saving the replays for this stuff. And as always, remember, you can reach out to me. I am a business coach. I do mentorships and things like that. So if at any point you're finding that you need some help, if you need some assistance, you just need a sounding board or something like that, in most of my videos on YouTube, or the link in my bio on IG, you can set up a kickoff call with me. It's a call for us to get on, kind of talk through your situation, see where you're at with the process, and then basically I'll share how I'm able to fit in and how I could kind of help walk you through that, through my programs and everything. So love talking to you all. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and I will see you all next time. Bye.